Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into the fascinating and, frankly, super misunderstood hierarchy of the modern hacker ecosystem. We're going to strip away all those Hollywood myths and look at the actual tiers of digital threats operating right now, all the way from your lowest-level nuisances straight up to the most advanced military operatives.
To kick things off, we really have to ask kind of a crucial question. If your computer gets hacked tomorrow, who actually did it? Well, the reality might actually surprise you. See, the person who initially broke into your system and the person who is ultimately profiting from your stolen data, they're frequently two totally different criminals. Honestly, they probably never even communicate with each other. It's this massive, incredibly specialized web.
So, let's start by establishing our baseline, the hacker color spectrum. Now, the core divide here isn't actually about the tools themselves. Both ethical actors and malicious syndicates often use the exact same highly sophisticated exploits. So, what's the difference? The definitive line between a really lucrative career and, well, a prison sentence is simply written authorization. Ethical white hats operate strictly under signed contracts to run intense penetration tests. Black hats, on the other hand, operate with pure malicious intent in a highly structured, almost assembly line fashion. And then there's the gray hat, the chaotic neutral of the cyber world. They break into systems without permission, sure, but they genuinely want to patch the holes, usually hoping for a bounty. But here's the catch. They operate under a legal principle called strict liability. This is a massive legal trap. Under the law, intent just doesn't matter. Breaking in without a prior contract is a crime. Full stop. This makes well-meaning gray hats just as prosecutable as black hats, even if they never steal a single file.
Okay, moving up the threat ladder, we get to amateurs and digital activists, the nuisances versus the protesters. Sitting at the absolute bottom tier, you've got your script kiddies, and the technical skill required here is literally zero. They're essentially just consumers of the dark web. They'll rent botnets for a few dollars to run DDoS attacks, maybe just to knock a rival gamer offline. Because they lack any real operational security and rely completely on other people's tools, they are by far the loudest and easiest actors to catch.
Stepping up a rung, we find hacktivists. Unlike script kiddies, they're hacking for ideological statements rather than profit. They use decentralized, highly specialized roles. You've got doxers leaking classified private info and defacers hijacking corporate homepages. Basically, they weaponize public humiliation. It's this exact decentralized structure that makes groups like Anonymous incredibly difficult for law enforcement to fully dismantle.
Next up, let's look at the absolute apex threat, APT28 and state-sponsored tactics.
These are literal digital soldiers, backed by government intelligence agencies with near unlimited budgets. And that capital, it buys them exclusive access to what we call zero-day exploits. Now, a zero-day is a secret software vulnerability that even the creator doesn't know exists yet. By stockpiling these unpatched, secret vulnerabilities, they make absolutely sure their targets are completely defenseless until the attack is already over.
Operating entirely in the shadows, you have Advanced Persistent Threats, or APTs. Take APT28, for example, a group widely linked by impartial researchers to Russian military intelligence. They don't waste their time on small targets. They utilize incredibly sophisticated tactics. We're talking highly targeted spear phishing campaigns, complex credential harvesting, and false flag operations to compromise governments, political organizations, and military networks all over the globe.
But their real hallmark, the thing that makes them truly terrifying, is their operational patience. Their tactic isn't to smash and grab. It's a calculated process. Step 1, completely bypass the rival nation's perimeter security. Step 2, establish a foothold and just sit silently inside critical infrastructure for years. They map the network, escalate their privileges, and strategically position themselves. Step 3, remain entirely undetected without triggering a single alert.
As you can see, the playing field here is totally asymmetrical. A freelance black hat leaves a trail and constantly faces the threat of international arrest. But an APT28 operative? They execute long-term espionage with absolute impunity. They're shielded entirely by a host nation that will literally never extradite its own digital soldiers.
All right, let's shift back to the profit-driven side of things, the corporate cyber underworld and mass business.
It's crazy to think about, but modern cybercrime operates with the exact same precision as legitimate tech companies. Behind a single ransom note on your screen is a vast corporate structure.
You have coders constantly refining the malware, dedicated negotiators handling customer service directly with the victims, and money mules expertly laundering cryptocurrency to completely obscure the digital trail.
And what really changed the game here is ransomware as a service, or RAS. The elite malware creators don't even take on the operational risk of deploying the attacks themselves anymore. Instead, they just franchise their malicious code to other criminals for a massive cut of the profits. This drastically lowers the barrier to entry, leading to those devastating global attacks we constantly see in the news.
Finally, we reach the absolute peak of the escalation arc, the cyber terrorism threat. This is where actors cross the line from a digital nuisance to causing mass real-world casualties. They're targeting the core networks of human society. This means direct infrastructure sabotage, like the Stuxnet worm physically destroying industrial centrifuges, or using hacking to coordinate real-world physical attacks. The stakes are so high that security agencies treat this threat with the exact same severity as a literal physical bomb. So after exploring this entire hierarchy in our explainer today, from the script kiddies all the way up to those state-sponsored apex predators, it leaves us with a pretty haunting question to consider. If state-backed digital soldiers, like the operatives of APT-28, have the capability to utilize zero-day exploits, bypass our best security, and sit silently in our critical infrastructure for years without triggering a single alarm, who is lurking in the grid right now? Thanks for joining me on this deep dive, and keep questioning the digital world around you.